Chicago Bears Now is presented by Roan. Upgrade your closet today with Roan. Their awesome four-way stretch fabric. I can't recommend it enough. Get 20% off with code ChatSports at roan.com/chatsports. It is Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham, and on today's show, I thought we'd do something different. I've never really done this in the past, so hopefully you guys enjoyed today's show. Where do the Bears stand in the NFC right now after a busy offseason? Yes, a couple minor moves could happen across the league, but for the most part, teams are what they are roster-wise heading into, OTAs, wherever you're at on the calendar. And I thought it was interesting going through the entire NFC, and I want you guys to chime in first. Will the Bears be a playoff team? Will they make the postseason? Will they make the playoffs? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I'll give my official prediction on that later on in the show, but I'm curious what you guys think. You look at the NFC North last year, because I think it's always first important to talk about the division. Flus and Poles talk about all the time. It's about winning the North first. You got to win the division. I'm not saying they have to win the division this year, but you do that as your goal, then you go from there. Obviously, the Lions had a great year, NFC Championship run. Green Bay Packers, and then Bears and Vikings were kind of there at the bottom, but still both had decent years. Lions, of course, a magical season for them. Could have gone to the Super Bowl. Couldn't seal the deal against San Francisco. Packers are young. I think they overachieved last year. Do they build off that momentum? I think they had a pretty good offseason. And then the Bears, I think, are viewed as a trendy team right now that a lot of people are picking to be pretty damn good in 2024 and beyond. Vikings, I think the Vikings will be solid. They have a good roster, but I think they're going to be patient with J.J. McCarthy. Like, I would not start him week one. I think they're going to be patient there. So I kind of think this is a transition year for them. If they sneak in and become a wild card team, I think that would be kind of bonus. I think they're looking at 2025 and beyond. So I would tier the division like this right now. I think Detroit has earned the right to be the team to beat. Capable of winning Bears and Packers in terms of capable of winning the division. And then, I think Minnesota's solid. I think they could compete for a wild card, but in terms of winning the division, I think they're the fourth best chance to do so. And I do think it's pretty unlikely. So now, what about the whole conference? Where do the Bears sit in the pecking order of the NFC? I'm going to kind of tier out the conference a little bit, talk about some of these different teams, and, ultimately try to come to a conclusion of where I think the Bears could be depending on how things go this year. What do you guys think is going to happen in the division, though? Who wins it? If you think the Bears win it, type CHI. If you're going with the Lions again, type DET. GB for the Packers or MIN for the Minnesota Vikings. Give us your thoughts on who wins the North this year. All right, let's get the bottom tier out of the way. I view three teams right now as teams that there's no way the Bears are worse than. Carolina Panthers, I think they'll be a little better, 2-15 last year. If they won 5 or 6 games, I think that would be, notable improvement. I think Bryce Young will play better this year, but they still have a ton of holes on that roster. The New York Giants, decent-ish roster, but I think the QB situation's a mess. Their offensive line still has major question marks. I like Malik Neighbors, but that wide receiver room's kind of filled with number 3s and number 4s. The defense could be good. I think it'll be up front is pretty damn good. They got Thibodeau and Burns off the edge, and obviously Dexter Lawrence in the middle. So that front 4 is solid, but I still have question marks. Corners after Deontay Banks, I don't know. I think they're a year away from being a competitive team. And then the Washington Commanders. They've made a bunch of moves. They signed more players than anybody. They drafted Jaden Daniels, had about 8 other draft picks as well. I don't see it this year. I think the Commanders and Giants are for the bottom teams aren't horrible. I think Carolina's easily the worst team in the NFC, but I also think the Giants and Commanders could be pretty close to the bottom as well. All right, we'll continue, I should say, in a second on where the Bears could end up in the NFC, how I view them going into the season. But first, shout out to our sponsor, Roan. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and truly versatile set of products known to man. And what's cool is they have you covered for every occasion. If you need to go to a business professional meeting, throw on one of their blazers, their commuter dress shirt. You're going to be looking stylish. How about going to the golf course, going to a happy hour? Throw on just, the little golf polo that I'm rocking today. Very comfortable. You can throw on some of their shorts as well, especially as summer gets here. mobility is everything. Comfort is key because you can always look stylish. Plenty of clothing brands will do that, but they're stiff, they're not stretchy, they're not comfortable. You got the four-way stretch fabric here, which is fantastic. It's easy and simple style, and it's very, very comfortable. They also have wrinkle release technology, and their clothes are 100% machine washable, which is a huge benefit for me. I don't have to go to the dry cleaners anymore, save money in that regard. And they've got their Gold Fusion anti-odor technology for more wears between washes. You can kind of get a few wears in before you throw your clothes into the washing machine. Plenty of perks to Roan, including the deal we have for you. Code ChatSports at roan.com/chatsports gets you 20% off at checkout. Go check them out today. Plenty of options available, regardless of kind of what tier of clothing you need in terms of business professional, all the way down to very, very casual. Okay, the top tier of the NFC. I still think the 49ers are the team to beat. That roster's loaded. I know there's been, some tumultuous activity this offseason. Are they going to trade Ayuk? Is he going to get a deal done? Can he hold out? Deebo Samuel, there's been some buzz there. There's the chatter out there. Can Brock Purdy continue to take steps? But until I see someone else do it, they are the team to beat in this conference. I'll put Detroit next, honestly. I hate to say it, but that roster's loaded, and I've never been the biggest Jared Goff guy, but I have always kind of thought he's underrated because when you build the roster right around him, we saw it in Los Angeles. When they went to the Super Bowl, why did they do that? Good defense, some good receivers, good offensive line. They've got that here, and a good offensive coach. You had Sean McVay there, Ben Johnson now, great offensive line right now, unbelievable wide receiver one in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't like the Lions, but you got to give credit where it's due. They're very close to the top of the NFC right now. Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, you lose Aaron Donald, but you still have Stafford, McVay, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. I like their draft where they got Jared Verse on the defensive line. They got his teammate Braden Fisk as well. I wish they had one more receiver, but they're, Stafford, if he's healthy and held up right, and they invested in that offensive line. I like Kyron Williams out of the backfield. That's still a pretty damn good team. I'll put the Eagles next. I think coaching let them down last year. Matt Patricia was a mess. I don't know why they switched off our old pal Sean Desai midseason, but they did. I still think Sirianni might be a fraud, but I like their coordinators a lot better. Get Vic Fangio in there to run the defense. We know how good he can be. And Kellen Moore, he has flaws, but he's an upgrade over Brian Johnson for offensive coordinator. And they're too talented on offense to struggle like they did last year. Even if you're not a huge Jalen Hurts guy, I'm a big A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith believer, so I'd put them in there. And then I guess Dallas, I struggle with this fifth spot. They've won 12 games 3 years in a row, so you have to give them credit. And at the end of the day, when you're kind of tearing out the NFC, you're talking about teams to position to get into the playoffs. Chances are Dallas is a playoff team because they've been that several years in a row. I'll say this, though. After San Francisco, and I think on the right day they could, the Bears could play with those teams. Don't believe me? They outplayed the Lions for 7 out of 8 quarters last year. Should have beat them twice. Philadelphia, you're telling me if Caleb Williams hits as a rookie, he can't hang with Jalen Hurts? I think he can. Dallas, same deal. Like, they're very hot and cold, and at times in big games, they're fraudulent. The Rams, older team. Like, I wouldn't pick them to beat the Rams right now on a neutral field, but I don't think it'd be impossible. Like, the point is like, you look at this, and we'll look at the middle class of the NFC in a second. There's no reason why the Bears can't play with most of these teams and win a lot of these games. We saw last year they can play with a lot of these teams. They just didn't finish all the time. I think the Bears absolutely are going to be in the mix here. Join the family and subscribe to Bears Now for free and daily videos. We appreciate the love and support. We're on the quest to 100,000 subscribers. We're over 93,100. Let's keep it up. Thanks to you guys. Join the family. Let's get to 100K. And then just middle class, middle of the pack. You could argue Green Bay is worthy of being in that top tier, but I want to see more. I thought Jordan Love was hot and cold last year. His good was very good. His bad was very bad. He obviously torched the Bears twice, which sucked. I think the Bears are right there with the Packers. I think the Bears actually have a higher ceiling with the Packers if Caleb Williams hits. Atlanta, I think in that division, they're probably the best. I don't consider them a top-tier team, though. Tampa, New Orleans kind of in that fold as well in the NFC South. Seattle's interesting. Talented offense. Can Geno do it again? New OC, we'll see. Minnesota, good roster, but I don't like the QB situation, at least for this year. I would sit JJ for a year and gear him up for 2025. And then Arizona, I didn't quite put them in the bottom tier because if Kyler plays well, he's got a number one receiver now, Marvin Harrison Jr. They signed Zay Jones to add another piece. They've added some pieces on that defense. I think they're kind of what the Bears were last year. Like, I think they could win 6, 7, 8 games if things bounce their way, be competitive, and then in 2025, they're looking like a real playoff team. The point of this, though, when you look at those teams aren't terrifying. Like, the one team other than the Bears on that list where you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's the Packers, especially when you tie it into the Bears, who have not been able to beat the Packers very often for years and years and years. The NFC is very, very top-heavy, and it's also doesn't have as strong quarterbacks as the AFC does. Look at the top NFC quarterbacks right now. I would say Stafford is the best. He's 36 years old, man. Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy. Good player. He's in a great situation. He's not a superstar talent, though. Dak Prescott, good regular season quarterback. Big games, playoff games, you don't trust him. Jared Goff, he's in a great situation. He's kind of like a older Brock Purdy, right? Like, in the right situation, he can be very, very good. Jalen Hurts, great situation once again. I think when you talk raw talent, I think Caleb Williams has more raw talent than every quarterback on that list outside of maybe Matthew Stafford. He's more physically gifted than Brock Purdy. Same with Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. Jared Goff was the number one overall pick, but Caleb Williams has more athleticism and arm strength. Like, would it shock you if 8 months from now, Caleb Williams is a top 3 quarterback in the NFC? Wouldn't shock me. Now, he's got to go out and do it. He hasn't played a game yet, but from a talent standpoint, why can't he do what C.J. Stroud did last year in the AFC? Like, there's no reason why he can't. Doesn't mean he will, but it is definitely a possibility. It is on the table. Fill in the blank. Caleb Williams is the blank best quarterback in the NFC. I mean, right now, you'd probably say, like, somewhere between 5 and 8 because we haven't seen him play yet. Jordan Love could have been in that discussion too, by the way, for top 5 in the NFC. But I've seen him play half a good season of football, so I need to see more. But if he's already in that discussion, Caleb Williams can't be after a year. He absolutely can. My overall Bears outlook is, look, tough division. All 4 teams are competitive. Packers and Lions won't be easy. Minnesota's no slouch. But the Bears, at worst, I think are upper echelon middle-class team. What does that mean? Good wild card team, or at least a team fighting for a wild card spot. Like, I would be disappointed if the Bears didn't at minimum enter Week 18 in a win-and-get-in scenario. Like, if they're eliminated before Week 18 like they basically were last year, that would be a failure. Like, I think that's the baseline. Like, ideally, you've already clinched the playoff spot by then because I don't think this NFC is that great. I think it's a lot of teams similar level in talent. And the Bears, if they get good quarterback play, I think have enough playmakers to be better than some of those middle-class teams. So, ultimate point is I think this should be a playoff team. I really do. And when the schedule comes out, we'll do a game-by-game prediction, video, record prediction, all that stuff. But without seeing the schedule, I think this is going to be a playoff team if they stay healthy, especially at quarterback. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, kind of a different type of video than we've done in a while. If you did enjoy it, let me know by subscribing. The more subscribers we get on a video, that kind of tells us, oh, they must really like this. So kind of prove it to us that way if you haven't done so already. My name is Harrison Graham. See you guys soon. Bear down.